911, what is your emergency?
I just found a body. I don't know what to do.
Government officials insist that this is an isolated incident.
You are listening to Nightcap, a true crime podcast where we drink a little, okay, maybe a lot, and deep dive into horrific murders, sinister crimes, and unsolved mysteries.
Each week, we will take you on a thrill-ride adventure into the juicy details surrounding famous and unheard-of cases,
including authentic reactions from rotating co-hosts and insight from trained professionals that give you a real forensic look into true crime.
Be warned, this podcast does contain explicit content and graphic descriptions of real-life accounts and cases. Listener discretion is definitely...
What's up? Welcome to Nightcap, everybody. It's our very first episode ever that we've ever made. So if you're listening to this, we appreciate the hell out of you. I'm going to start out by introducing myself. My name is Suzi.
I'm Gavin.
And I'm Brittany.
And Gavin and I, we're sitting here chilling in Spokane, Washington, which is where our first cases reside in, actually. But our homegirl, Britt, where are you sitting at, girl?
I am in Portland, Oregon. So close, yet so far.
So far.
We wish you were here with us.
I'll come sit on your lap soon.
Yeah, I want that.
Our very first episode is Hometown Horrors, based right here in Spokane, and I'm going to give you some information about Spokane. Spokane sits right next to the Washington-Idaho border, and its population is about 217,000 residents. It's the second biggest city in Washington state. A lot of people don't know this, but Spokane is actually the birthplace of Father's Day. If you're into sports, well,
That's
yeah.
really random.
I didn't know
I
that.
know,
Yeah,
so random.
super
The
random.
things you
I didn't know
learn
it had a birth.
researching your own city.
I've been here 25 years. I had no idea. Okay, anyway.
So if you're into sports ball, you may have heard the name Gonzaga Bulldogs thrown around. They're from one of our local colleges, Gonzaga University. Spokane is quite known for our river that runs directly through downtown and the majority of our city. The Spokane Falls is one of the largest urban waterfalls in the United States. And Spokane's Riverfront Park was once home of the World's Fair in 1974. Also, this famous singer Bing Crosby was raised in Spokane.
Yeah, we got his theater downtown,
Bet you
bitches.
No, because I sure fucking didn't.
I didn't know any of this, obviously.
Yeah, for real. I'd like, besides the Gonzaga part.
I thought they just named the theater after him downtown.
Right? Seriously.
I had no idea.
And we
I don't know. Who was the singer?
Oh, grew up here. All right, so let's get started with our cases. I am going to go first.
Gavin's gonna dive right in, you guys.
Oh.
He lost the draw.
I did lose.
We kind of rock paper scissors
won
for
it,
it.
but lost it. It was
Exactly. I was like,
It was confusing, but Gavin, he lost and won, so he gets to go first.
yeah,
and
well,
he's
here
gonna
we are.
read his case first.
All right, guys. My case begins in early 1990 in Spokane, literally early 1990. So the victims in this case were 3 sex workers who regularly worked on Sprague Avenue, a popular watering hole for sex workers and cruising johns not far from downtown. The victims, 26-year-old Yolanda Sapp, 34-year-old Nikki Lowe, and 38-year-old Kathleen Brisbos. Police weren't able to charge their killer for 27 years.
What?
Yep, 27 motherfucking
It took him that
years.
long?
Like they didn't
Yolanda-
find. Well, I'm sure you'll tell us. Never mind.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to tell you all the
Wait, but I need to know now.
20 questions, real quick.
all
Answer.
the shit. So, Yolanda Sapp was last seen February 21st, 1990 by her boyfriend, Darrell Thomas. Thomas told police that she had gone out to prostitute and make money. Her body was found down a steep embankment next to the Spokane River on the morning of February 22nd. She was completely nude and bound by the ankles by a green blanket. The killer made no attempt whatsoever to cover her body.
No, that's nice of him.
Next to her body was a
blanket right there.
Yep. Next to her body was a floral blanket with Yolanda's blood on it. An autopsy was done and a medical examiner found that she had cuts and scrapes as well as 3 gunshot wounds to her chest.
Ooh.
Forensics analyzed the gunshot wounds and concluded that Yolanda was shot with a .22 caliber gun. Unfortunately, no witnesses and little evidence. Detectives were unable to put any suspects on the table. 1 month later, under the Green Street Bridge, the body of 34-year-old Nikki Lowe had been found. Her body had been draped over the guardrail. She was found with her pants pulled down to her knees and her shirt had been pulled up, exposing her breasts.
And he left her like that?
Yeah, he
didn't just strip her nude. He was just
nope.
Sloppily was like, I'm gonna halfway pull down your pants and just pull up your shirt to see your titties and leave you like that.
Pretty much.
How far? Since I don't know where any of that is, how far apart are those locations?
Well, that's
probably about like a mile and a half, 2 miles.
Because that's what that sounds right.
Nearby. Okay.
Yeah. All of these women were found very, very close to the river and only just a couple miles apart of each other.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's see here. Marks on her backside suggested Nikki had been dragged and placed on the guardrail. So he just put her up there. Detectives found a single fatal gunshot wound to her chest.
Oof.
Again, the gunshot wound was that of a .22 caliber weapon. Further analysis would find that she was fully dressed when she was shot, and the markings on her markings and bruisings on her body occurred after her clothes had been disheveled. Several days later, investigators were notified that several of Nikki's belongings had been found in a dumpster on Sprague. And Sprague is literally, it's not very far from the river whatsoever.
No, that's like a couple blocks.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like you cross the bridge, the Green Street Bridge, and it's like 2 or 3 blocks going down Division.
In the dumpster, they found her wallet containing her driver's license, a sweater, a pair of blue tennis shoes, and a tube of lubricant. It was noted that the dumpster was relatively empty, and it was assumed that the items were all dumped together. Forensics were able to lift a fingerprint off the tube of lubricant, and the fingerprint was entered into evidence. The killer took a short break and returned to kill another sex worker, Kathleen Brisbos, 2 months later. Kathleen's body was found down an embankment next to the river in the late afternoon of May 15th, 1990. Similar to Yolanda's case, no attempt was made to cover the body. The area above where Kathleen's body was found had been disturbed. Multiple articles of clothing were strewn about, along with clumps of hair and blood droplets along a very popular pathway called the Centennial Trail.
What? She just littered the Centennial Trail like that? Like no attempt to clean it up after you dumped the body?
There's a clump of hair.
No.
He did not give one fuck.
Or is that that's like a serial killer flower girl that's like...
And we'll get there.
Oh my shirt over here.
I promise, we'll get there.
Okay, sorry, bad metaphor, but that's what popped into my head.
I just picture the most macabre wedding ever. Happening.
This indicated to investigators that Kathleen had put up a fight, but unfortunately she did not win. An autopsy of her body revealed that she had been struck up to 8 times, resulting in skull fractures and 3 broken ribs. No. She had been shot 3 times, once in the head, chest, and right shoulder.
Oh my God.
I know, it's unclear of the sequence of all of these injuries.
Yeah, which shot killed her, the order that they were in. Because that was different than the other 2. He just shot the other 2 in the chest, right? So this was the one that was the oddball out.
Well, in the second one, you said that she was clothed when she was shot, but then was found partially nude. So he... Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wondering.
So 2 of the bullets were recovered and, of course, were found to be at .22 caliber. Thankfully, forensics...
What that looks like.
I think it's a small bullet.
I'm pretty sure the 22 is tiny.
Yeah, I think it's a
little chode gun.
Apparently big enough to kill somebody.
Oh, no.
So forensics were able to collect her fingernails and entered them into evidence. Thank God, because this was 1990. This was, pretty early on in the DNA
Wait,
game.
off of her body or next to her body?
No, they clipped her fingernails off and took them into evidence. So it was pretty clear to Spokane investigators that there was a serial killer on loose. And this person had a very strong dislike for sex workers. The killer had a very clear pattern. Detectives had a very, very long list of suspects, about 700 deep, including the Green River Killer and Robert Lee Yates, which we will be getting to. Yates was taken off the table, right, due to the fact that he was in the military and not in Spokane at the time. No charges were brought up due to the lack of evidence in these 2 murders. Or 3 murders. Shit balls. For decades, the killer would evade investigators until DNA evidence was able to establish a connection. In 1990, the FBI created a DNA database program to aid investigators with searchable DNA profiles. The database contained data of convicted offenders as well as another database for missing persons and forensic samples collected from crime scenes. This database was named CODIS, Combined DNA Index System. Mm-hmm. By 1998, CODIS had been implemented on a national level in all 50 states. Back to the timeline. So, in 2004, the case had remained cold but not forgotten. This was over a decade later.
That's crazy.
The case was handed down to a new detective, James Dresbeck. Dresbeck sent the fingernail clippings from Kathleen's case to a lab in Marysville, Washington, and 6 months later, a full profile was developed. The profile came back as that of an unidentified male. With a new lead, investigators turned to CODIS. Samples from 12 suspects were tested against the DNA profile, and unfortunately, none of them were found to be a match.
Damn.
Now, this is where shit gets crazy.
Oh, this
Bring
is
it
where?
on.
Yeah.
Bring it on, yeah.
So, the suspect. Douglas Robert Perry, later known as Donna Rebecca Perry, was born February 26, 1952. Perry was raised in Omak, Washington, a few hours west of Spokane. Background information was very hard to find, so I was only allowed just like a little bit from like kids growing up and whatnot. So Perry's childhood was pretty rough, as expected. Perry's father passed away in 1969, and their mother was admitted to a psychiatric facility and diagnosed with schizophrenia. With a past filled with turmoil, Perry turned to an obsession with guns and weapons. At some point, Perry relocated to Spokane, and judging by the arrest records, like, I'm assuming it was sometime in the late 80s, but I couldn't really pinpoint it down. So Perry was no stranger to law enforcement. Perry had quite a rap sheet and had been arrested many times between 74 and 2012, and fucking buckle up, because holy crap. Perry was arrested several times for second-degree assault in 74 and 88. Perry was found guilty of a dangerous weapons violation in 86. During a search of Perry's home, police found 5 pipe bombs, 49 guns,
Holy shit.
and 20,000 motherfucking rounds of ammunition.
20,000?
20,000. Who the fuck needs 20,000 rounds of ammunition?
So they
I don't even know what that looks like.
what,
I don't know
did you
either.
kill 3 or were you planning on another like 997 or what?
Don't you worry. Perry's arrest record
I
doesn't
tried really
stop
hard
there.
on that, actually.
Proud of you. So proud of you.
Glad it came out good because it was a struggle in my brain.
Numbers
Perry
in my
was
head,
also
like,
arrested for patronizing a sex worker he found on Sprague Avenue in 89. And that's kind of where I get like he must have, eventually ended up in Spokane in the late 80s.
yeah.
One of Perry's girlfriends was a sex worker herself, and we'll get to her later. Because when I found that information, it was pretty sketchy, and there wasn't a lot of information, but I ended up digging pretty deep and got down to it. Okay. But state caseworkers would end up concluding that Perry had a deeply seated hatred for women and sex workers, and also was a misogynist. Surprise, surprise.
Okay.
Trifecta.
Yeah.
That's a perfect trifecta.
So Perry was
Was that girlfriend who was a sex worker, was that before or after the murders?
No, during the murders, and she was a sex worker.
Oh, I was thinking maybe it was before and like she scorned him or something.
Well,
No.
he must have just really liked her.
Well, yeah, maybe. Let's ditch.
Like, you're my favorite one. Don't worry.
So we'll get to her. I promise. She's in here. She plays an interesting part. So Perry was very good at deception. Perry was seen helping sex workers, even feeding them and gaining their trust. Perry was again arrested in 1994 for unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, shocker.
Being a convicted felon prohibits one from owning or possessing firearms of any kind. Duh. During a search of Perry's home, ATF agents noted that Perry was extremely knowledgeable about firearms and very protective of the ones in his possession, referring to them almost as if they were alive.
Did he like name him?
Whoa.
I don't know, but this ATF agent dude, like he had a whole blurb about it, and it was pretty creepy.
Weird.
Yeah.
20,000 children.
So Perry was incarcerated in Oregon from January 1995 until October 1997. After only a year of Perry's release in December of 1998, a sex worker by the name of Valerie, who had been to Perry's home, called police and reported she had seen an armory of guns, knives, and crossbows.
Oh, man.
Valerie, I know.
Jeez, snitches get stitches, girl. What do you know?
Valerie informed police that Perry had told her not to worry. He wasn't going to hurt her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He liked her.
He liked her. Okay, that makes it all better.
She told police there were mannequins and crossbows and weapons and things everywhere in his house. Everywhere.
Somehow the mannequins are the worst out of all of that.
I know.
So
The first
another level.
Like, that's one thing. I'm going to be like, there are mannequins.
No, I think that's pretty normal home decor. I don't know.
For a murderer. Or seamstress. I don't know.
Well, I'm actually looking into buying mannequins, so.
I was going to say everyone gets mannequins.
I'm not judging. Maybe just a little.
I have no desire to get 20,000 bullets or a crossbow, though, so I think I'm in the clear.
So Valerie was able to give police a clear description of Perry's car and home, and police were very quickly able to track Perry down, of course, near Sprague. When police questioned Perry, Perry told them, "I was only in the area because I wanted to help the sex workers get off the street."
Oh, he's
So nice.
such a sweet
So
human.
nice.
I just...
Police searched Perry's vehicle and found papers written by a psychologist that stated Perry had a gender psychosis disorder that states Perry does not like females, along with printouts on gender transition.
That's very confusing.
I really feel like, those
It's
two
very
don't go
confusing.
hand in hand with each other.
I thought it was some I don't know.
Is that some deep-rooted hatred for himself that he was like, I hate women, but I also hate myself for doing this. So maybe I would want to I'm not a psychologist. I don't know. That's very interesting.
Like a anger at women, because they're just biologically women and just a secret, I don't know, hatred because
you needed a desire to be a woman. I want to be a woman, so I'm mad at women for being women. Or
exactly. I don't have to go through what I need to become a woman.
Yeah, definitely. I think it could go both ways, or it could be not even relevant at all. He could just be psychotic and.
Y'all just wait, okay?
Sorry.
Y'all just wait. There's more.
Apparently, I'm the kind of person that yells out "It's gonna end this way" at the movies.
And I'm like, stop earning it first. Shh.
So around 1994, Perry began to identify as a woman and carried on relationships with women and men, carrying on both personas as a woman and a sex worker.
What?
I know. So Perry struggled with gender identity for many years, and in 2000, Perry decided it was time to address the gender identity issues. Straight up disappeared off the radar and flew to Thailand. It was in Thailand that Perry underwent gender reassignment surgery. Douglas Perry became Donna Perry.
It's a lot cheaper in Thailand, I hear.
And from here on out, I will refer to Donna as Donna with female and her and she pronouns. So it was just really difficult to get to this progression because of how everything works out. So I don't mean to offend anybody. So even after multiple arrests, Perry could not overcome her obsession with firearms. Perry was arrested again in 2012 in Spokane Valley by the ATF for, yet again, another unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition. Authorities searched Perry's home and recovered 12 firearms and another large amount of ammunition.
Jeez.
For real. You couldn't just give it up because if you could have just stopped buying guns and shit, you wouldn't have got caught for any of this. It blows my fucking mind.
Hey, you're willing to
I guess it's
radar.
Yeah.
Just blows my absolute mind. So Perry was convicted and sentenced to 18 months, only 18 months in a federal prison after this is the third time.
Yeah.
Having guns and you're not supposed to have guns.
Jeez, I feel like you get more time if you do a second DUI at this point in time.
I'm a weird liberal. your fucking guns. I don't give a fuck if you have your guns, but like if you've been arrested because you've assaulted people with your guns, you probably like, you know, come on, let's just not.
You have too many guns, like
just don't. And especially if you killed people with guns.
It's it's a hobby, Gavin.
It's a hobby.
You don't understand.
Anyhow, so in 2012, it's now a federal requirement. If a person is convicted of a felony, the felon must provide a sample of DNA. And around this time, CODIS gets a hit, and the DNA profile matches with that of Donna Perry. Oh, snap.
Dang, turning point.
So as the case warms up, Detective Dresbach is on it. Investigators traced guns found in Perry's home from 1994 and in 2012 and found that several had originally been purchased by two brothers, Bruce and Mark Massengale. Detectives interviewed the brothers and found that they were close friends of Perry's before and after Perry's gender reassignment. Perry had even lived with Bruce for a minute, so they were pretty tight. During the interview, investigators found that Perry had lived with a woman named Claire Ann Galloway. And it is suspected that Galloway was Perry's girlfriend in 1990.
Oh, is this where it loops back around?
That's where the girlfriend was from.
Oh,
got it.
She was also a sex worker at the time. So Perry and Galloway had a very peculiar relationship, and I couldn't find a whole lot of details about it. However, coincidentally, Galloway was arrested and taken into custody February 21st, the day before Yolanda's body was found. And then again, March 25th, the day after Kathleen's body was found. And I know.
Okay.
It's very odd. Investigators speculated that Perry had also robbed the women as well as murdered them and used the money to bail Galloway out of jail.
Oh my God. That is awful. Like,
favorite.
Don't worry, baby, I got you.
Right?
That's
My favorite.
That's favoritism at its finest. Like, no, fuck her, you're cool, fuck her. That's so strange.
God.
So Mark Massengale told investigators that Galloway had been arrested several times, and Perry, who was living on state benefits at the time, always found the money to bail her out. Perry ended up back in Spokane County Jail, being held there as a federal inmate. Detectives James Dresbach and Spokane Police Detective Mark Burbridge arranged a visit to Perry at the jail, and this was around 2012. So, like somewhere later in the year, they've obviously have kind of caught on, like the CODIS hit, like this is. So
how far are we from the murders at this point? Like when all this stuff is happening, from when it started? Is that like
the murders started in the early the first 4 months
of 1990?
Of 1990,
and this is in like
2012. 22 years later.
22 years later. Okay.
So yeah, a hot
Imagine
minute.
like thinking you're like set, you know, like all right, cool, I did it. Like he must have been shitting his pants when they took his DNA, and in 2012, like oh fuck.
Dude, totally. After that long, you're like, oh, I'm fine. I'm golden.
Yeah.
But don't worry, it gets more weird.
Oh, great.
Yay.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So during this visit, which was practically just kind of like, I need to get DNA from you and ask you some questions. So detectives told Perry that they had been working on an old case and wanted to see if Perry could help them with the cases. They also served Perry with a search warrant for DNA. Perry was read her rights and stated, I should probably have an attorney here if you're going to question me about something.
Oh, that's fishy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Only innocent people say that.
Now,
we all know that.
If you watch the video, like the actual police interview video, like it is real frustrating because you can tell that she's not trying, or she might be trying too hard to deny it. So like she kept acting shocked and confused as to why, they were pursuing her.
Oh my God.
I can't believe it. Anyhow, detectives collected the DNA via a buccal swab, which is like a cheek swab, and told Perry
a bucket.
No, I had to look up buccal swab. I'm like, what the hell is a buccal swab?
See, and then I'm sitting over here
with a bucket.
I thought you said butthole swab, and I was like, that seems really fucking invasive.
I mean,
like we need DNA, but we're taking it straight from the source.
But no, a buccal swab would give you a whole bunch of other DNA.
Oh my God. Yeah,
you don't eat steak. I'm not a vegan. I eat steak.
Yeah, it gives you your gut biome and everything.
Oh my God.
Well, that was
So anyhow,
my bad.
So detectives collect the DNA, and they tell her that they're going to tape up the sample box and they'd be back with a copy of the warrant. They gave Perry a short break and left the room. When they returned minutes later, Perry became very agitated and stated she needed a lawyer or someone to explain what was actually going on. Detectives then gave Perry a brief description of the old crimes and the CODIS hit that led them to their conclusion. Perry asked the detectives why they wanted her DNA. Burbridge informed her that they had a warrant for first-degree murder, and they believed Perry had information about it. Perry continued to act confused and said she had millions of questions. But little did Perry know, the detectives already had all the answers they needed in the DNA sample they collected that day.
So at that point, they weren't telling her that she was like a confirmed suspect.
They pretty much knew.
But it sounds like they didn't tell her. That's why she was like, I need an attorney. I don't know what's going on. Like, did they straight say that you're a fucking suspect right now? Because
the problem was here is that she kept saying that she needed an attorney. She was already read her rights. And so that, like, they weren't, and I'll get to that. They weren't really comfortable going into like specific details. So,
wait, is that some kind of violation though? Like if she had said in the first place, like, I want an attorney, and then they kept asking her questions, is that a violation? Because I feel like that should be a violation.
In the video, it's more so she's asking questions.
So she's not stating that she needs a lawyer now.
And they've already read her Miranda rights, and they do it again. So this is where the shit gets real. So because of Perry insisting on needing an attorney, detectives were uncomfortable interviewing Perry any further. They told her that they would give her some time to finish up her soda and would be back to take her back to jail. Which I feel like was a total, was a tactic. Like there was a plan. Yeah. She's finally afforded to sit in another room, away from her cell and whatnot, away from people, and she gets a soda and whatnot.
Yeah, and they're like, finish your soda, then we're like, girl, you're good.
Yeah, we're gonna throw you back in the clink. So Dresbach and Burbridge returned. Dresbach gave Perry his business card and told her if she wanted to talk, she could let him know. Perry again told the detectives how upset she was, also asking the detectives to give her their gun and one round so that she could finish it. So now if that's
kill
not
herself, I get things.
Yep, an admission of guilt, I don't know what is.
It took me a second too. I was like, wait.
Yeah, I was like, what is she finishing?
She will continue to beat around the bush. Ugh. So Perry was clearly ready to talk-ish. So after being read her rights again, detectives got down to business. Perry told them, I did pick up prostitutes, yes, but I always let them out and they were alive and well when I let them out. Detectives also showed Perry 13 photographs, one at a time, of known sex workers who worked the streets in the early 90s. Mixed in with the photographs were photos of all three victims. Perry proclaimed to not have known or seen any of the victims or women except for Galloway. So that was the only person that she claimed to recognize. When detectives
girlfriend.
That's the girlfriend,
yeah,
right?
the girlfriend.
Yeah, okay.
When detectives showed Perry the photos of Yolanda, she made it a point to disclose that she never dated black girls. Which,
asked.
You racist bitch.
Yeah.
Perry kept up denials, stating, I'm not going to admit I killed anybody. I didn't. Donna has killed nobody. And Burbridge responded with, so Doug did?
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shit. Here comes the split personality disorder at its finest. Me? No.
Not
Doug?
how that works,
yeah.
Donna.
And Perry replied, I don't know if Doug did or not. It's 20 years ago, and I have no idea whether he did or didn't.
Oh, my God.
Well, that's a solid plea of insanity. I mean, if you're going to ride that train, you ride that all the way to insanity, because that's what she sounds like at this point.
Yeah.
She was seen fit to stand trial because they went through the whole trial.
Wow. Even though claiming all of that?
Yep.
Dang.
So Burbridge told Perry that people who kill multiple people over periods of time generally don't stop killing. He asked Perry why the killing stopped, and she said, Douglas didn't stop. Donna stopped it. Perry also stated that since the sex change operation, she is paranoid and emotional, but won't hurt anybody, and that the sex change was a way to permanently control any violence.
That's wild.
Yeah, and sketchy as fuck, which really fucking pisses me off.
Yeah, okay. It's like part of me can almost I mean, if you're not all there mentally. I guess part of me could see how that would like make sense. I don't know. That's I could see how someone could try to justify it with that. Yeah.
I mean, it's like she almost like put her past self into like Donna boot camp and was like, that's not a thing anymore. Like justified it in her own head.
No,
I don't know. Yeah. That's bizarre. That is so fucking bizarre.
Oh, just wait.
Oh my God.
There's more.
It gets better.
There's more.
Man.
So the buccal swab was sent off to the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab and checked against the original DNA evidence found from the scenes. The sample was compared to the profile obtained from the DNA found underneath Kathleen's fingernails and found that it was a perfect match. The odds were 1 in 790 sextillion that Perry was their killer.
Oh my.
Yeah, there's no
ammunition she had.
Like, boom. So
Crazy.
The profile was also a match to DNA found on the floral blanket next to Yolanda. And Perry's fingerprint would be an exact match found to that on the tube of lube.
On the lube bottle.
In Nikki Lowe's case. So during the interview with Perry, she confirmed that she had drove a 1969 International Scout in the 90s. Detectives were able to track down the vehicle even after it had traded hands several times. The Washington Patrol Crime Lab processed the vehicle, and get this, motherfuckers. Under the front passenger floor mat laid a single .22 caliber cartridge.
Shut the fuck
Stop
up.
it.
Still in there all this time.
Oh my God.
So the cartridge was old and showed signs of corrosion and was taken into evidence given the fact that it was the same caliber used in the murders, and none of the previous owners recalled ever owning a .22 caliber weapon.
Yeah, because this is like 20 some odd years later.
And I mean, if you go out shooting to like a gun range or whatnot, like, your casual shooting spot, like, you don't pick up your fucking shell casings and like put them in your car. I mean, it's shitty to do, but I mean, people just don't.
Well, you shouldn't. You should actually dispose of them properly.
Like, really, if you're listening, you should
care about the
memory bomb.
So this is where shit gets even more fucking crazy. So in June of 2013, so not too long after that interview, detectives go down to Fort Worth, Texas, and interview one of her fellow inmates, her cellmate, Cheryl Everson. Perry had taken a liking to Everson and had confided to her cellmate that she had killed 9 sex workers while, quote unquote, taking care of business.
Oh, great.
Every day.
Oh my God. Perry later claims, you're good.
Mom jokes.
Perry later claimed to have killed between 20 and 30 people. Everson also claimed that Perry told her that becoming a woman was a disguise to take the heat off of her, that an elderly lady with mental illness would never get caught.
Holy shit.
It's so fucking gross. So fucking gross.
God.
It's so like maniacal. Like, you're like, yeah, I got it. I figured it out. I got the way. No.
Pisses me off to no end.
Oh, that's fucked.
Other statements from Everson would include that Perry claimed to be a contract killer and knew a lot about guns, which was obviously evident. Perry had evidently exposed that she had killed these women because she couldn't breed, and the women had the ability to have children, and they were wasting it being pawn scum.
Holy shit.
It.
Yeah, you won that round, Brittany. All right.
Perry claimed that she didn't bury the women she killed. She just shot them dead, and it was someone else's job to bury them.
And that's why she left him. But why transport the body at that point? Why not leave him where you shot him?
I don't think she did transport. I think she literally. Hold on. So Everson told detectives that she knew the victims were killed in a vehicle near a river and then kicked out of the vehicle and left behind.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but that other female was like thrown across the guardrail.
So
though.
I personally think, and this is just speculation, that he took them to these areas and, like, I'm assuming, had sex with them, did whatever it was that they did, and then killed them. Because none of them were except, obviously Nikki, like, she was draped over a guardrail. Like,
yeah, just literally like thrown out, like, wherever she lands.
On her backside and like her buttocks and her legs, like, concluded that it happened after she had been shot and killed. So like, he took them to a specific location and then killed them and then just left them there. Just crazy because other people do it other ways, but yeah. So Perry also claimed that she knew how to dispose of evidence and told Everson law enforcement had unknowingly destroyed some of the firearms used to commit the murders.
We're still
threw
talking
your
about
shit to an empty dumpster
type of
scenario,
chucking everything. But I disposed of the weapon properly, so I'm professional.
So good.
Like, hey, I used that one, but they burned it, so whatever.
I touched the lube bottle with my bare hand, but I got rid of the gun, so try to catch me now.
Right?
We good.
So Everson would eventually testify in court against Perry, and there was no no benefits for Everson to testify.
Wow.
Like, she didn't get anything out of it.
She did it like at her own will.
Her own free will.
Wow.
So when Perry was flown back to Spokane for trial, she told officers during the flight, "I'm never going to get out of this. And instead of jail, I hope they send me to Eastern State Hospital. I'm not violent now."
Oh, what? Okay.
Okay.
So throughout the trial, Perry would continue to hold tight to the notion that Donna didn't kill anyone. Douglas did. But the evidence was undeniable, and nothing Perry could say could change the fact that DNA doesn't lie.
Mm-hmm.
No amount of denial could turn this case in any other direction. And on July 24th, 2017...
Oh my God.
27 fucking years.
A jury of her peers found Donna Rebecca Perry guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced her to 3 consecutive life sentences in prison.
Fuck.
So, I would like to state that the actions of Perry are in no way a reflection of the transgender community. Perry is just a garbage-ass fucking human being.
Slightly
Yeah.
And it's not clear whether or not Perry had wanted to become a woman or just used it to her advantage. And it's fucked up. Like, seriously fucked up. Learning more about this case pissed me off to no end, especially when I found the interview with her cellmate when she had made those statements. Just infuriating. But I'm pretty sure there are a whole fuck ton of psychological issues at hand.
I mean, it could be a nerd. I mean, look at her. Look at her mother. Like, was that passed down? Was it like childhood trauma? You never know.
Like, the whole thing is fucked.
I'm looking at pictures.
Oh, snap.
Douglas and Donna. Sorry, I'm a visual learner. Gotta see everything. Very interesting.
So fucking mind blowing, because it's like, I mean, you kind of like sugar me in on this case a little bit earlier, like not a lot of detail or whatever, but like without like the proper confession, like just the cop out of like, it wasn't me, Donna, it was Douglas, I feel like the victims' families and friends and stuff like that, like would have never really gotten like that for sure closure of being like, okay, she admitted to these crimes and then she is like sorrowful and apologetic and like all this shit. She was just literally like, nope, wasn't me. I don't know. Could have been him. Not been him. I don't really know. Like, way to just leave it open like that. Like, that's so kind of, it's fucked up in my mind. I don't know.
Like, literally, like, one of my most frustrating parts about this case was the fact that, like, we don't have this, like, Donna's side of the story. Like, she never confessed, so we don't know what actually took place. And it was like, everything I got was all from, like, court documents. And so what the police had concluded and, like, their evidence, and it was like, I want to know the other side of the story. All, like, if it's frustrating. But no, to this day, she still holds tight to that. Like, I killed nobody.
Even though she admitted to her cellmate, supposedly. I mean, I guess, like, that's just so, like, why do I when you hear that in stories where it's like, oh, well, they admitted to their cellmate, like, in what world are you still thinking, like, they're not going to say anything about it? Like,
right?
Like, I just...
And you're already doing the time for it right now, so, like, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not?
Probably would help.
Like, repent for your sins, bitch. Like, come on.
Yeah, because clearly she's not, like, so convinced in her mind, like, pathological liar that she knows that she did it. She's not denying it to some people. It's like, it's,
Well, and like plotting to admit that she had changed her gender and like all that, like, because you almost want to be like empathetic to a certain extent with like mental cases with mental health because you're like, is there really something like underlying underneath like the psychological barrier of the brain or whatever? But to admit it to your cellmate and then turn around and be like, oh yeah, no, I have no idea. You're just like garbage human being, just straight garbage human being. There's no excuse for that.
Yeah, that's just bleh. Awful.
Well, I'm glad we're all in like gagging agreements.
All right. Thank you for tuning into Hometown Horrors Part 1.